In this training video, we're going to look at a skill in Excel called conditional formatting. So conditional formatting is very useful for making areas of an Excel worksheet stand out. So say now in this example, I wanted to target the years service column. So I could say, well, if a member of staff has less than 10 years service, I'm going to color them in either red background color or a red font color to make them stand out, to say this person might need a bit of help because they've been with our company for less than a certain period of time. We then say if someone has been with our company for years service, say between 10 and 20 years, we'll color them in an orangey color or yellowy color to say, well, we might need to look at them to make sure they're okay and they know our way around our company and they know all parts of the internal handbooks and different things we do within the organization. We'll then say anyone who's been here longer than 20 years is then green. So we're saying they're senior members of our staff and they've been here long enough to know what our organization is all about. So that's the example in this particular case. We're going to look at years service and we're going to color it in 3 different ways. If the years service is less than 10 years, it's going to be a red background color. Well, we'll make the font say a white font. We could say, for example, if the years service is between 10 and 20 years, we can do a yellowy background with a different color font to make it match with yellow. And then we could do for greater than 20 years, green with a font that matches with green. So that's the example here for years service. We're now going to have a look at this example. So when you're undertaking conditional format, you highlight the area where you need to apply the conditional formatting to. In this example, it's the numbers in column F. So I'm going to first start on F2, and then I'm going to select it down to F42. So F2 to F42 are now highlighted. So all the numbers that I need to target are now selected. Conditional formatting is on the Home tab. So Home tab, Styles section of the ribbon, and we've got Conditional formatting. Now there's all sorts of ways you can apply conditional formatting. We've got highlight cell rules, which I'm going to go through with you in this example. We've got new rules, icon sets. We've got all sorts of examples. So I'm going to start off with highlight cell rules. So under highlight cell rules, we're going to look at what applies to the scenarios that I've set in this example. So I said anything greater than 20, I can make it green. So I could use greater than from the list because greater than is there. If I wanted to use less than, which I said is going to make red, well, less than is in the list, I could make that red. Between is in the list, so I can now choose everything I need to highlight the cell colors from the rules area. I can use from this particular list. Now, if you see some kind of rule that's not in a list, you can always come down to more rules. Because, for example, if I said greater than or equal to a certain number, well, greater than is in the list, but not greater than or equal to. If I wanted to go less than or equal to, well, there less than is in the list, but not less than or equal to. So anything that's not in a list that you might think, well, I need to use that, I'd always look in more rules. Well, under more rules, where it says format only cells that contain, we've got greater than at the top of the list. But now we've also got less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So the additional areas that are not in the list, you'll find under more rules. So this is where you could go to for these examples. So I'm going to cancel this box and I'm going to now use from the list what I need. So I tend to start lowest to highest. So I'm going to go conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, anything that's less than. Now less than, now Microsoft puts in a number automatically because it's guessing. So what I do is highlight the number and delete it, and I type my own number in, 10. Now Microsoft is also given its own formatting. You could stick with Microsoft formatting, it's quite appropriate in this example. Red I want. What happens if I didn't want red? Well, it might not be much use to me. I would tend to use your own colors personally if it's something that you are trying to put your personal stamp on. So I'm going to click the drop down arrow and I'm going to go to custom formatting, and I'm going to choose in this example the fill is going to be I'm going to go for a reddy color, and with that I might want a font color to be, I can make it for example bold, and I might say I want a whitey font color to go with that. So white on red with a bold, hopefully that works. So we'll say OK. And if I look at the preview, I can now see it stands out quite nicely. So I can now see a red with a white font. I'm going to click OK. And that's the first part done. I'm going to leave the numbers highlighted and then do the second part. So highlight cell rules. I've now done less than 10. So I'm now going to go between 10 and 20. So between 10 and 20, I want the background color to be an orange yellow color in this example. So I'm going to say the fill is going to be I'll go for a yellowy color, and I'll say okay. For that I'll have the font of I'll go font and I'll go bold again, and I'll go for a dark blue in my yellow. Click OK. And now I can see all the betweens are now highlighted yellow with a dark blue font. I can now also go for the greater than. So between's covered, less than's covered. I've left the range selected, conditional formatting, highlight cell rules, and I'm going to go greater than. Greater than 20. I'm going to custom format, and that's going to be a green fill, and I'll go a white font which is bold on my green. So font is going to be I could leave it automatic, so I'll leave it to a black on my green, so that's okay. So I'll leave it automatic and I'll make it bold. And there's the preview. Click OK. And straight away I can see that green is now greater than 20. Anything between 10 and 20, so between means including 10 up to and including 20, but anything that goes to 21 is now going to be green, and anything that's 9 is going to be red. So that now has undertaken conditional formatting to the range that I've selected. I would now click OK. And if you ever wanted to, so I'll just quickly go down the example just to show how the colors worked. So all different use service is now colored in different areas and different examples of color and font as I've selected. Now you could also, when you've used conditional formatting, you could sort by color. This is something that is often useful with conditional formatting. So I'm going to show you how to sort with color as well in case this is needed. So I'm going to highlight all the data. Okay, so all my data is highlighted. To sort by color, if you ever needed to, I would always highlight the data first. I'm then going to go on the Home tab, and it says Sort and Filter. And I click the little arrow for Sort and Filter, and I'm going to do a custom sort. Now, what do I want to sort by? So it's asking me, well, what column do I want to sort by? I want to go by use service. So use service. I want to sort on not the values, I want to sort on the color. And it's going to be not the font color, the cell color. So cell color, that means it's looking for the red, it's looking for the yellow, it's looking for the green. Now what you can do with color coding when you've got 3 colors, within different areas you get something called red, amber, green control, and it's often used in manufacturing and many operational needs. Some organizations call it RAG control, R-A-G, so red, amber, green. It's like a traffic light approach. So what I could do is put on top red, so it's the top of the traffic light. I can then add a level back to my use service. I can then say cell color, and I can say green on bottom. So by saying red on top, green on bottom, because there's only 3 colors, Microsoft's going to be clever enough to know that yellow goes in between. So you've sorted then by color. I'm going to click OK, and there we go. All the reds are together, all the ambers are yellows together, and all the greens are together. So that can be quite useful with conditional formatting. I'm now going to show you 1 or 2 other examples with conditional formatting that I have prepared. So if I go to another example, in this example, I'm going to look at the totals to compare if the total to the left is less than the one selected, it's going to go red. So for example, if my C16 happened to be less than the one to the left, which is B16, it would go red. Otherwise, it just stays the same color. So in this example, it would stay the same color because it's not less than B16. And then Excel is going to look at all of them, look one to the left. If it goes less, it's then going to color it. So let's try this example. So I'm going to click on C6. In this example, I'm going to do a formula. So C6, conditional formatting, and it's a new rule. So a new rule this time, and I'm going to go formula to determine formatting. So I'm going to say in this example, if, and the way you think of it, you think if something is less than something. So in this example, I want to say if cell C16 is less than B15. Now what I've got to be careful is these dollar signs. So dollar signs means you're locking things in place. Well, I want the C16 to go to D16. So 16 is fine to hold 16 in place, but I don't want to hold the C in place. So I'm going to take the dollar away from the C, and I'm going to take the dollar away from the B, because I want C and B to move across as I copy the formula. So 16 can keep in place. So I've freed up the C to move to D. I freed up the B to move to C. So as I pull it across and copy it, I can then see it go across the columns. But keeping the dollar on row 16 is fine. And I want that particular format to say, I want to format the cell to be a fill of red and a font of bold white. I'm going to click OK. And I wouldn't expect this now to turn red because it's not less than. Okay, now if I use a feature in Paste Special, I've now demonstrated Paste Special in a previous example of a video. Well, Paste Special has a lovely feature in it called Paste Special Format. So I can now copy the format of the conditional formatting, which I'm about to do now, in cell C16. So I'm going to click Copy. I'm now going to highlight D16 across to M16 for all the rest of the totals. Go to my Paste Special, and choose Format. So I'm copying the format in C16 right across to M16. Click OK, and there we go. So let's see why Excel is now highlighted one of them in red. So if I look at F16, it happens to be less than the month before, so that's why Excel's highlighted in red. So quite clever. So when you want to then get rid of your copy for your formats, press Escape. Now if you ever wanted to get rid of conditional formatting, we highlight the cells where the conditional formatting is applied to. We then go into conditional formatting, clear rules, and you could choose from the entire sheet or selected cells. In this example, I'm going to choose selected cells. So I'm going to now clear the rules from the selected cells. And there we go. One more example. So I'm going to go back into my View tab, switch windows, and I'm going to go to another example. Now here what I'm trying to say is if the average of any country for all the different years is less than 1,800, the country's name is going to turn red. So I'm looking at any country's name, it's going to go red if the average is less than 1,800 in production for all the combined products for all the different years. So let's have a go. So I'm going to click on Argentina, the first country. I'm then going to go to conditional. I'm going to go to a new rule again. And this time I'm going to start using a formula again. And I'm going to say the average function, so equals average. And I'm trying to say the average of C6, so I can type in C6, to J6, and close my bracket. And I'm asking the question there, is that less than 1,800? Now, if that were to be the case, it's then going to turn the color red. Now, if I use the mouse to put in the average, that would have then put in dollar signs. So the dollar signs then you'd have to get rid of. So in this example, when I pull it down, I've got no dollar signs. So if you type it in yourself, you don't have dollar signs in place. But if I'd have used the keyboard to have highlighted C6 to J6, I would have then had to manage the dollars. So in this example, I just happened to type them in. So I don't have dollar signs to concern myself about in this example. So I'm now going to say if that were to happen and the average is less than 1,800, which one or two of them are, we're then going to say the country is going to turn red. So I'm going to say format. And I want to set the font this time, the font to go red and bold to make it stand out. So I'm going to click OK. OK once more. And Argentina has now turned red. I'm going to copy the format, so copy down the rest, and then a paste arrow, paste special, paste format. So paste formats is very, very useful for conditional formatting. And now let's investigate one or two of the reds. So I'll just escape. If I look at Turkey, now Turkey's got some highest numbers. Is it less than 1,800? Well, if I highlight the values and I look down the bottom, I can see the average of the selected cells is 1,549. It's less than 1,800. That's why it's gone red. So this concludes conditional formatting and different examples in the use of conditional formatting.